Imagine you're doing YouTube full time, living the dream, working hard, and then all of a sudden one day you wake up and all of your hard-earned money is taken from you. Hi, my name is Ryan and I make videos about social media. Do you remember the channel Smosh? I used to watch Smosh all the time when I was a kid. But what you might not know is that Smosh isn't just Smosh. See, Ian and Anthony sold Smosh back in 2011 to a company that became Defy Media, which must have sold for a pretty penny.
Sold it for stock for $0. $0.
Okay, what? Well, I mean, Defy has to be a heck of a responsible company if they basically just gave it away for free. Oh, they're going bankrupt? That's not good. But Defy Media doesn't just own Smosh. In fact, they're a YouTube network, or MCN, that manages the income of hundreds of large YouTubers, including Clevver News and formerly Screen Junkies. But instead of doing their job and paying the creators that they work for, they're keeping the money. Let me explain. So not only does Defy Media manage other YouTube channels, but they also in-house produce and distribute over 75 bi-weekly shows on 25 different networks. Smosh is just one of those shows. But regretfully, Defy Media has ceased operations because of market conditions, which is a fancy business term for hitting the fan. Luckily, the YouTubers that have been represented by Defy Media are taking the news rather well. For example, a YouTuber named Chad Wildclay with over 5 million subscribers only had 421 million views worth of AdSense held from him. It's not too bad. In addition to that, Lance Stewart, who did successfully unlink his channel from Defy Media, later found out that all of his videos were suddenly being reclaimed by the network. Oh, and don't forget about all the other channels who haven't been paid from Defy Media in over 2 months. They'll be fine. You know a situation is really bad when Shane Dawson starts rant tweeting right after he says he's going on a break. But on a more positive note, we do need to commend the PR team over at Defy, who let all of these creators know that they were shutting down through a tube filter article. Because terrible news is always easier to hear through a third party. Classy. But the more and more I think about this, none of this makes any sense, and Anthony agrees with me. From what I've seen, the company has been pulling in millions of dollars for years. So where did the money go? According to an article by TubeFilter, Defy, who just a few years ago was pulling in investment money of $70 million in 1 year, has suddenly hit some rough water, laying off 8% of their staff back in March, and is now facing a string of lawsuits, failing to pay publishers, and their list of accomplishments go on. But does this story speak to a larger problem about multi-channel networks? For that, I'm going to pass it off to my friend Eric, who's going to explain how these networks can take advantage of content creators.
Let's talk about how multi-channel networks function, MCNs. What they are is sort of a representation agency for YouTube channels. They will represent a large group of channels and take a little slice of their revenue in exchange for some sort of promotional services. Now that's always been the pitch that they've used in the past, but recently with the YouTube adpocalypse, which happened a little bit earlier this year, they are no longer able to represent small channels. Now they always have represented larger channels, and with a larger channel, the revenue is going to be a lot larger than it is with a channel with 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers. And the way it works, in my understanding, is that the revenue goes to the MCN first, and then it goes to the creator. So what's happened since DeFi Networks has effectively declared bankruptcy or declared that they're shutting down, the revenue that is supposed to go through DeFi and then flow down to the creators, that has stopped. Now this is not a new thing for multi-channel networks. They've actually had historically a pretty bad reputation among creators. So DeFi Network is just the biggest example of what we've seen so far and reported in Variety magazine, and some other channels have actually reported on this too. So at the end of the day, if you're a creator, big or small, my recommendation is to not go with any kind of multi-channel network. If you're like Anthony and Ian from Smosh, they had a little bit of an issue in 2011 where they sold their company essentially just for stock. All that equity that they had, that stock equity, it's worth nothing, it's evaporated. If you're looking at doing any kind of deal, any kind of larger brand deal, or if you're small, you're just forming a company like us, always get an attorney involved. They're gonna walk you through the issues. There's things that you can never think of. They're there to protect you, well worth the money. I'm Eric, and Ryan is right behind the camera over there, and we'll see you in the next video. And don't forget, subscribe.